Hey everybody, it's Royce here with Shop Local Calgary, and I'm just talking today with Rob, Frisbee Rob McLeod of Calgary here about his business and what he does with the sport and just in general with physical literacy and all kinds of different initiatives that he does. So Rob, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing over the last few years and also how things have been going over the last couple months here with this virus we're dealing with.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. So it's been an interesting time. Obviously, everyone's going through it differently, different experiences, different challenges, different successes, different paths. And so for me, basically March 16th, they're like, schools are closed. Mm-hmm. And so I had no schools, no work for the next 5 months, basically until September. No idea what's even happening in September, but that now means I have to postpone a ton of schools. A few schools had already paid me, so I have to figure that piece out. Also means a lot of my trips were canceled, either to compete for world championship events that I was supposed to go to in Europe, which I'm super excited to go to. Obviously, those have been postponed. One was canceled. But it's been interesting because for me, I was doing exactly what I was meant to be doing, exactly what I designed and created myself. And so I don't want to do anything different. There's some people that this has been an opportunity to explore different paths. Mm-hmm. Some people were already kind of on the way out of their path. But there's a lot of people in the same boat as me where they were doing what they loved and it's just been disrupted. And so I've been doing this for about 7 years, full time for about, 5 years, I'd say, mm-hmm. But really in this path for the last couple of years. And I've really hit my stride the last 3 years. And so I've already booked a bunch of schools for the fall and also next year in May. I already booked like 1 week residency. So I know that it's coming back. It's just how long until it comes back. And
right.
So partly right now it's trying to create partnerships with people that I'm still using my skills, whether it's teaching Frisbee, promoting physical literacy. So I'm working with organizations that are promoting all types of sports. So not just Frisbee, but like Sport Calgary, Active for Life, Be Fit for Life, mm-hmm. Outdoor Council. So we're looking at maybe doing some camps and having Frisbee as a part of it. There's a lot of team sports that are concerned because you don't want to just run a whole summer of drills for kids.
Right.
That's going to get super boring. Kids are probably not going to like the sport. And so, let's say somebody was supposed to play softball this summer and softball's canceled. Well, that person's probably already doing something else like biking or hiking. And so there's a lot of sports that are just not going to do anything this summer because they've waited too long. Mm-hmm. And people have already decided to do something else. And maybe those people will never come back to the sport because they'll realize maybe I like hiking or biking better, which is totally fine. But then there's also people who this is their sport they want to play. And so I'm trying to work with a couple sports organizations and saying, how can you make this sport fun? So no, you can't play a team sport, but how can you make games up using your tools? And so right. That's for me where Frisbee comes in, because ultimate, for example, you can't play ultimate Frisbee right now, but you can play disc golf.
Right.
You can do self-caught flight. So you throw the Frisbee, catch your own throw. So there's a lot of things you can do that are in line with all the social distancing guidelines. But you're still having fun and playing something. You're not just going in and practicing all the time, because if you're practicing all the time, knowing that you're not going to play, then that's really tough to do, tough to keep you motivated. Mm-hmm. But if you're going out and playing or competing or challenging, then there's some good ways to do that. And so I've kind of played around with it a bit, where I've worked with some communities from a large scale, promoting to a big base, and there hasn't really been good engagement. So I find the best engagement is local. So either you with your 10 friends that you normally play soccer with or something like that, those are the best groups to challenge each other to do something. And so I have a group of like 20 guys, and every week we have a different Frisbee challenge. And some of them are silly, some of them are serious, but there's more engagement from that because we're pushing each other and calling each other out and challenging right. each other. Yeah. And so I think this is a good chance for people to realize where their community actually is. So yes, we're a global community because of the internet, but at the same time, who's your audience? And not so much who's your audience to monetize, but who's your audience that you really care about, right? It's a good chance to spend time with them. Like the reason that I do Frisbee is because I have a Frisbee family. We had a Zoom call mid-April actually so it was on the Friday night where we were actually all supposed to be in Virginia competing. So we had a Zoom call with about 70 people that would have been there in Virginia. And we actually just talked to each other and did some skits, and just everybody shared a message. And we realized that we're not alone in this. We are part of this Frisbee family. You know, when all this is done, we'll get back to see each other again. And so I think there's been a lot of people that have felt super isolated. And it's not about pulling away from, and sometimes you feel like that maybe a couple weeks, or you need some time. Like I was saying to somebody the other day, it's hard to believe, like we're already like 13 weeks in or something to this, right? Like it's kind of flown by. This isn't 2 weeks in or a month in. And so, you know, it's like some people were struggling for the first couple of weeks and then got in a good routine and then fell off their wagon and then got back in the routine. And so everyone's in a different thing. We're all in a storm, but everyone's kind of dealing with the storm differently. And so, you know, there's some good quotes from a lot of different people, and the essential premise is clean your room. And so clean your room first, and then you can go out and start coaching others. And so as somebody that works with kids, who gives them advice on screen time and kindness and resiliency and all these things, if I'm not living those values myself, then when I'm speaking to kids, I feel disingenuous that I'm not actually living them. And so if I'm talking to kids about not having screens in your bedroom, and here I am with a screen in my bedroom, sure, you can justify and say, well, because of all this, but it's like, how can this is an opportunity now to actually practice this. And so, you know, what are the things that I need to take care of in my own life? So when things start opening back up again, I can go back out there in, you know, a better mindset. And so for sure, like if you're not working and you don't qualify for some of these benefits, you have some kids like that, maybe the last thing on your mind is to go exercise or whatever. But sometimes that can just be enough to just click over and help you gain some control over these other things in life. So everyone's kind of going to approach it differently, but it's just trying to realize that Frisbee is my vehicle. I love Frisbee. I've been getting out, you know, I have a Frisbee dog here who's hanging out with me. So we go for walks every day, throwing Frisbees to him, throwing Frisbees by myself, catching my own throw, just getting out there, playing disc golf again. But at the same time, it's more than just a sport. It's also, you know, what are the other things in life that matter, and how can all those relate together? And instead of, you know, encouraging or telling other people what they should do, like maybe I should go do that myself and lead by example. And it's been a challenge sometimes to get to that point, because you have to look at yourself, you have to be honest with yourself. But I think that's when it gets really important, is when you can really enjoy that time alone, saying, okay, these are the things I enjoy. Yes, I don't have all these other people, maybe I'm not traveling all the time, but what is it that I really enjoy doing, and how do I actually want to live my life? So I think this is a good chance to do that. And again, it's everyone's in a different spot. Like if you love your job and you just can't wait to get back to it, then it's just trying to figure out, how do we get back there? If you need to make money, then some people are getting evening jobs or taking a part-time job for now. But I think, you know, what we as humans do best is solve problems. You know, we find the solution. And so instead of saying like there's all these things wrong, well, how about we focus on the 2 or 3 things that we can actually solve ourselves, either in our own life or in other people's lives, instead of just telling other people that they're doing something wrong or that they're not good or whatever, which happens a lot. And then we can jump on the bandwagon, you know, actually go do it ourselves. And then that positive, I think, impact in our own lives will help us see things a little better. And really, like, whatever we focus on will happen. And so if I'm focused on how sad I am that I'm not in schools or that I can't travel, then of course I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be miserable.
No, exactly.
If I focus on all the things that I can do instead, then I'm going to go do those things. And there's a lot of things you can do instead. So it's just trying to, you know, keep my mindset shifted in that stage, even with all this that's happening, trying to still stay on that path. Obviously sometimes you get pulled away, but the nice thing about it, and you can escape all of that. So it's sometimes you just need to do that, I think.
And I think with Frisbee in general, I play disc golf myself, so I'm aware of the sport, and there's something about a disc, right? And I know you know all about this. The flight of the disc is something that is attractive when somebody gets that to do what you know do with the disc, what you envision with it. It's a very powerful kind of tool, right? And and I know also you were talking about focusing on positives and things like that. I've been having these conversations with business owners, and focusing on positives and solutions. That's the path forward. That's the way that we're gonna, figure out where to go. In general, I know that you are very accomplished in the world of Frisbee. I think you can correct me. You have several Guinness Book of World Records, but also world championships at different disc events as well, correct? So obviously you understand focus and achieving goals and things like that. And so tell me a little bit too about what you do at schools. What's the main kind of messaging? Is it all about physical literacy? You're just using the disc as kind of an example of how to do that, or what does a typical event look like for you at a school?
Yeah, so I've really, like I mentioned earlier, dialed in the last 3 years really. And so my main messages are physical literacy, kindness, resiliency, and getting unplugged. And so I tie that all together using Frisbee. And so when you have a lot of successes, so I have 6 Guinness World Records, 13 World Championships. When you have a lot of successes, you also have a lot of failures. And so I do a trick shot in front of the kids, and I fail usually a couple times in front of their eyes.
Yeah.
So it's important to show them that if you try something, you might fail. You probably will fail, and that's okay. Yeah. If you never try, then you'll never fail, but you'll never succeed. And then the idea of physical literacy. So, I didn't actually start playing Frisbee until after high school. A lot of Olympic athletes don't actually start playing their sport until they're in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a lot of value in trying different things. It doesn't have to just be a sport, but whether you're playing the piano, whether you're dancing, whatever you do, even video gamers, it is important to have a strong, healthy body and mind. And so it's important to move your body somehow, whether that's a sport or, walking or exercise in some way. Kindness. So it used to be an anti-bullying message, but then it's shifted over the years, because if you go into a school and talk about stopping bullying, it actually increases bullying because they're more aware of bullying. Yeah. And so instead of being anti-bullying, we should be pro-kindness. And so I'm not going to get too deep in everything that's been happening, but it's the same kind of thing, right? Like if you want to stop racism, if you're anti-racism, well, you're focused on that. You're looking for that. Mm-hmm. And so what's the other side of it? And so with bullying and kindness, if you're anti-bullying, you're going to look for the situations that are bullying. But if you're pro-kindness, then you're going to try to have more kindness happening. Yeah. So it's not ignoring that bullying is an issue, but it's just saying, well, how do we shift the behaviors to something more positive instead of stopping something? How do we start something? Yeah, exactly. And
I love that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And focusing on the main, kindness in every aspect is just going to spill over and solve that in general. I would say maybe not solve is the wrong word, but that is the focus, I guess, kindness in general.
Yeah, and obviously we're not a utopian society. Like we're not going to be kind all the time. There's times where realism matters, and but it's the idea of positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement. So reward the behaviors you want. Mm-hmm. And then the other side is the unplugging piece. So, especially with kids and their developing brains, screen time, dopamine has a huge impact on their development and social skills. And so, it's not realistic to say, don't go on a screen for a day or two, but it's just trying to get them to set better limits. And so the Unplugged challenge comes from a lot of literature. There's a few people who have these 3 tips, but it's no screens in the bedroom, no screens at the dinner table, and no screens an hour before bed. Yeah. And that's something that is good for families, whether they're having dinner together. It's good for adults to not have a TV in the bedroom, to not have a screen in the bedroom. So we're just overstimulated all the time. We just have so much information in our minds. And it's even something as if you watch a YouTube video, if you listen to a podcast, if you read or listen to an audiobook, there's a lot of information in your mind. And when are you giving yourself time to actually digest that information and think about it? Mm-hmm. If you're not giving yourself that time, then you're not processing it, but then you're probably not going to have a good sleep because you just have so much information in your mind. And it's about being present. There's so much information out there now, so much content that, you could literally you could start watching a YouTube video right now and just keep clicking next 24/7 for the next 1,000 years, right? So forever, you can't watch all of it. And so it's just trying to realize, okay, if I have time to watch something, great, but try and fill your life with more things that you do want to do. And so instead of saying let's only spend an hour on screens, instead saying let's try and fit in everything we want to do in a day. And then if we have time for screens, then we fit them in. If it's important, we fit it in. If there's a TV show, or if we want to do a family movie one night, that's fine. So it's just trying to take a positive approach with it, instead of saying, don't do this. Instead it's saying, like, here's all the things you can do instead. And it's with kids, especially, like, if you have a contract for their cell phones, let them help write the contract. And so instead of kids feeling like they're punished, give them responsibility. And so if they break that contract, they feel a sense of responsibility to themselves. Instead of parents saying, don't do this, and then the kids are like, well, you're punishing me for no reason.
No, I agree with that message for sure. As a parent, that's something that we've tried to bring into what we do with relation to screen time and social media and things like that. So absolutely. Awesome, Rob. And so one thing I want to do is, so like if people are interested in learning more about what you do, what's the best way to find out more? What's your best? I know you've got a website, you've got YouTube, I think, as well. Where's the best kind of central place to send people to learn more about you?
Yeah, for sure. FrisbeeRob.com is the best place. It has links to all my social channels, links to, testimonials. They can buy Frisbees or find out more about different Frisbees. My blog is there. Awesome. More about my speaking as well. And the biggest thing too is trying to show people what's possible with a Frisbee. So after I do that presentation, then it's workshops. And so I show kids with workshops. And then one thing I'm trying to do now is when I leave, I don't want Frisbee to just end. And so I'm trying to actually get schools to start Frisbee clubs.
Okay.
And so if they can start Frisbee clubs, then eventually, if there's enough schools, we can have Frisbee competitions, like a track and field competition. And then we can really start getting some momentum going. And just showing kids what's possible, showing adults what's possible. They get into it, they see how fun it can be. And then we can really start doing some cool things.
Yeah, well, if there's someone that can show people what's possible with a disc, I know it's you. I've seen some pretty impressive things disc-wise out of your hands. So that's awesome, Rob. I'm gonna put the links in and send people to the site to learn more about what you do, and hopefully we kind of get to where we can get guys like yourself back in schools and teaching kids and into this new normal, whatever this is going to look like. So hopefully the schools are kind of opening up soon and you can get back to some sort of new normal, because I know you were just getting some steam going with what you were doing there. So I'd love to see that happen again.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking some time, Rob. It's been a pleasure catching up with you, and look forward to seeing you out there again very, very soon.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.
All right. You too.